Hi, I'm Angel from fleecefun.com, and today we are talking buttonholes. Now, if you want to scare a sewist, just say buttonholes. Buttonholes are really scary because basically they're the last thing you need to do before you finish a project. And you can actually ruin a project if you can't do a proper buttonhole. So it can be very upsetting to get all the way through a project and then mess up on the buttonhole. Well, I'm going to try to eliminate that fear today because we are going to break it down and we're going to talk how you can be successful with your buttonholes. So I kind of have the anatomy of a buttonhole broken down right here, and we're going to kind of walk you through it. Now, I'm going to show you first how we usually mark off a buttonhole. Just have the button that you want. Just draw a line at the top and at the bottom. And then right down the middle, it's this nice kind of eye shape. And that's what you use to mark off a buttonhole. There's the top, there's the bottom, and there's kind of the line that you follow down. If you have a strange shaped button like this one, you just kind of want to find the widest point on it and make sure that the buttonhole is that wide. All right, so when you go to make a buttonhole, it doesn't matter if you have an automatic buttonhole feature on your machine or if it's manual like mine, the process is the same. The first step is that your machine is going to make the first bead. Okay, and that's basically this bar of stitches all the way down. The next thing your machine is going to do is after those bar of stitches, it's going to kind of hop over and it's just going to back stitch all the way back up to the top of where that first bead is. Then it's going to make the top tack right here. Next, it's going to make the second bead all the way down. After that, it's going to finish off with another tack and then back stitch just a little bit to finish off the button. Pretty simple, right? Now, a couple of things you can kind of see on my demo here. The tension here is terrible. It's too much. You need to have the ability to play with the tension on your machine and the length of the stitch so you don't end up with something thick and uneven like this. That's why it's important and why all patterns say do a test buttonhole first so you can adjust the tension and length of the stitch. While your machine might have a suggested length and stitch, you need to kind of, from there, figure out what your project needs. Now, when you go to open up your buttonhole, I usually use a seam ripper. There's also kind of a chisel-looking tool you can get. But one thing you should always do is these pins right here at the bar tacks. And the reason for that is, and yes, it has happened to me, you go to open up your buttonhole and go all the way through your bar tack, ripping into the fabric and ruining your buttonhole at the very end after making a perfect buttonhole. Sad, right? So all you do is you just go right into that center part where the fabric is and just go all the way down. And look, that pin stops you from making a mistake. We'll do that on the other side. And voila, buttonhole. Now, buttonholes can actually come in different shapes. There's like a keyhole, and you can also add things to it. But my suggestion is just start off simple and then go from there. All right, so now that I've shown you kind of the anatomy and the breakdown of a buttonhole, let's go to the machine and make one. All right, so setting up your machine properly is crucial for having success with your buttonhole. Now, be sure just to look over the owner's manual of your machine and go through it because it'll tell you the exact settings you need to have. So while I will show you the basics here, truly you need to look through your owner's manual. And I'll be honest with you, depending how long it's been since I made a buttonhole on my machine, I review it. On this machine, it's recommended that you actually thread the bobbin a little differently. So what we're going to do is there's a little loop at the top of this bobbin right here, and we're going to put the thread through that, and then we'll thread the bobbin through the machine. So I will push that through. Okay, so threads through that loop. We'll put it back in the machine. And it's also important that once I'm done making my buttonhole, I remember that that bobbin is that way and put it back so it's normal. All right, I have my buttonhole foot on my machine. I'm going to pull up that bottom thread. All right. I've adjusted the tension on my machine and I have it set up for a buttonhole. Now, you saw before how we decided the length of buttonhole. We just draw that little eye on it. I'm just going to quickly show you as a demonstration, so I don't have that here, but I'm going to do the first bead. And what I'm looking for while I'm doing this is how does the bead look? If the stitch doesn't look even, if that satin stitch doesn't look even, something's going on with the tension and this fabric, so I will need to adjust that. So I am going to put the needle in, and let's just take a quick look. Okay, it's looking pretty good, so I don't need to worry about it. If the machine is starting to get stuck, or if it's looking really, really uneven, you need to stop and start over again, and this is why we do test buttonholes. All right, I'm just gonna go a little bit longer. All right, next step. It's going to sew backwards, and I'm just going to sew to the top of that first bead. Have it sew the tack, and then it's going to sew down and sew the second bead. Now, a few things. This is cotton fabric, so it's pretty easy to sew on, but if you're sewing on a knit like a fleece or a jersey knit, stabilizer does a lot. So if you find that you're having trouble and it's just not looking right, highly recommend just doing a stabilizer. All right, there's that second tack, and we're finished. Now, if you look at it, it's a little uneven because I pulled it out in the middle to show you what's going on, but it looks pretty good. Now to open it up, of course, we're going to do that trick that I mentioned before, which is sticking those needles in so you don't go all the way through your tack on your button. And then I'm just going to rip that open with the seam ripper. Really easy and simple. Honestly, it's just practice makes perfect. It can be a very scary thing, but it's one of those things that if you just continue to do it, you kind of get to a point where you understand how to do it, you understand how your machine handles it, and you can have success. All right, do you have a fear of making buttonholes? Let us know in the comments below. Also be sure to give us a like for our hard work here, and also, subscribe to this channel because we're adding all kinds of great videos just like this one all the time.